I've got something to show you, and I don't know. You might have one of these. If you have one of these, go ahead and raise your hand for me. Do any of you have one of these? Yeah. So this is one of those luggage tags. You know, those luggage things that help weigh your luggage. Now, those of you who have one of these know it's important because there might be somebody in your family who travels a bit like that. That was only for a weekend trip, I'll tell you that now. And I was like, well, how come you needed 15 outfits for 2 days? And it's like, well, just in case, you know. In case what? You know? Why do you need 73 pairs of shorts for a 4-day? Anyway, that's a conversation you don't need to ever go down. Years ago, we were at this Spanish island called La Gomera, and it's off the Spanish coast. We were traveling back. We went up to the counter, we went up there, and you put your bags on there, and this lady looks at me, and she says, you have a weight problem. I said, you should have seen me last year, babe. Man, I've been working out 3 days a week. You don't know what I've been going through. So she's like, what's in your bag, right? So I don't even understand why. The only thing I can think of why we did this is they were heart-shaped boulders. We had packed a bunch of rocks in this bag to come home with us. I don't know why. I mean, isn't it the weirdest thing, when she asked me, do you have anything that can be used as a weapon? I was like, well, I have a suitcase full of rocks. I don't know. Anyway, we had to sit on the floor, and I don't know if you've ever had to do this. We had to unload some of the stuff that was in the bag, right? So we're sitting on the floor in the airport. Everyone else is walking past. Everyone else is thinking, yeah, there's that family. And there we are, unloading. And I don't mean pebbles. I don't mean, we built a cairn, in the airport in Spain. There's a memorial there now. It's about 4 feet high. It's, lots of, anyway, we had to empty all of these rocks. And I don't even, it's just the weirdest thing. But for some reason, we did that. And we brought a bunch of rocks with us for who knows why. Anyway, we had too much stuff in our bags. I don't know if you've ever done that before, if you ever traveled somewhere. We're in the middle of a summer series. We're actually wrapping up our summer series today. And we've been looking at this idea that life is a highway. We are all journeying. We are all going somewhere. We've all been places in life. There's all different locations, different directions. We've all been somewhere in life. And the idea behind this theme about life as a highway is looking how to give one another good advice to reach our destinations. Good advice to help us reach where we're going safely. Good advice to help us in life. And we are all going somewhere. And we talked about this already before. Just a quick reminder, you can't go backwards. You don't get a do-over. You don't get to redo those teenage years. You don't get to redo your 20s. You don't get to redo that first marriage. You don't get to redo that job redo. We don't get to redo things. Life goes forward. It doesn't go backwards, and we are all going somewhere. Where no matter what age we are still going forward. And we want to help one another arrive safely. We want to get it right. And whether you're a follower of Jesus or whether you're not a follower of Jesus, in your heart, you have this thing that says, I want my future to work out. Maybe you're a young person with us today and you're still kind of exploring. Maybe you're sort of thinking, I'm not really sure about this whole Jesus thing. Maybe I'm still wondering about where I'm going to be in life with my faith and everything. And I'm going to encourage you today, even if you're in that position, there's this thing in your heart which says you want the future to work out. We all do. We all want it to work out. And I believe that we can help one another to get there safely. And the thing we're going to look at today is this really practical, good advice, which is pack only what you need. We've also we prepared some travel guides that go with this series. So if you haven't got one, we've been handing them out every week. If you haven't got one, they're just on the back. And what's handy about this is it sort of summarizes everything and also gives you a few reflective questions. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can scan the code at the back to get in touch with anybody. But get one of these. And this goes through just some simple, practical advice. Today's practical advice is for us to pack only what you need. Here's what we do in life. We accumulate stuff. It's true. I could come and look in your shed, or in that cupboard under the stairs, or in your loft, or under the bed, or in the wardrobe of the spare room. We accumulate stuff. Stuff just gathers over time. You put like two things in a room and they breed. This is what happens, right? You put like two bits of junk in the loft and all of a sudden your loft is full. I don't know how it happens, right? So anyway, we just accumulate stuff over the years. We gather these things, this baggage, if you like. It's almost like, it's almost like a suitcase that goes with us. Everywhere we go, into every situation, it just comes with us, doesn't it? These things that have affected us in our lives. This is universal. We've all been affected by stuff, It could be, I don't know, experiences, but lots of different things. But it's okay when you're going on holiday to overpack a couple of extra T-shirts. It's kind of, I'm like uber efficient and uber critical when it comes to me packing and going on holiday. And do you know what I do? Every time I get home, I don't know if anyone else is twisted like this. I'll put my bag down on the bed, I'll open it up, and I'll assess how many times I used every item. And I'm like, you know what? I never wore that pair of socks. Next time, I'm dropping one more pair of socks. So now I travel with like a Ziploc bag, it's amazing. I can go anywhere. No, but I just like a proper, so it's okay to bring a couple extra T-shirts or maybe a pair of shorts. Maybe you throw an extra jacket in and you don't need it, you don't use it. And it's okay to overpack in that situation, but it's not okay to overpack in life. Because when you overpack in life and you just carry stuff around with you that you don't need to carry anymore, it actually weighs you down. It actually affects you. It affects everything you do. It's like everybody can see it in your life. Your colleagues that work with you, they know that you got it there. You come to the office and you're trying to... Everybody knows the stuff that you've got. Your friends at school, they know the stuff that you're carrying with you because whether you are aware of it or see it, it's there all the time. They know it's there. Your friends know it's there. Your family members know it's there. Maybe your family members and the ones who are closest to you have actually spoken to you about some of the stuff in your life. And if, like when I speak to some of my children and say, hey, you do not need to have 74 pairs of shorts, it doesn't always go down well, does it? When someone tells us about stuff in our life that might not be going well, it doesn't always go well because we don't really like people pointing out the stuff that we've got in our lives. We don't really like people pointing out the junk that everybody can see except us. The hurts that we carry that we have that everyone can see except us. It affects everybody. It affects everyone around us, our family, our friends, our work environments, our church stuff. And today, this morning, as we wrap up this series, is an opportunity for us to start taking a look at what we've got in our bags. And today is an opportunity for us to unpack some stuff. We should only pack what we need in life. And whether you're younger or older, this applies to all of us. And I'm excited if you're here this morning and you're still exploring faith. These are some important lessons about what Jesus has done for us. He helps us look at the junk in our lives and do something about it. That's good news. That's amazing news. And he doesn't say, you stupid fool for packing that. He says, let me help you deal with what you've been carrying. That's amazing. That's incredible, incredible good news. And I just wonder, you're curious now, aren't you? You want to see some of those stones from Spain? I didn't bring any. But what I brought is a couple of offenses. Because, they did this thing and they said that thing and she never should have done that, but she did, and I'm carrying it now. I've got these jealousies, these things that, see what other people have and I should have them, and yeah, I'm carrying that kind of stuff. Bitterness. Because really the thing is, they owe me. And it shouldn't have ever happened that way. I didn't want it. It's just, and it just, yeah. Don't have to explain it because you already know what I'm talking about, don't you? Oh, look, another offense. I'm sure I only had one in there before. Oh, another offense. Oh, another offense. I don't know how this happens. It's just like, well, It's your fault. That's what it is. It's God's fault. That's what it is. It's my boss's fault. It's my teacher's fault. It's my friend's fault. The thing is, it's everybody else's fault. And I didn't even put these in here. There's a bit of extra, anger. I don't remember them being so big. It's just taking up a lot of space, isn't it? And another offense. You see, what happens over time, we just build this stuff up, we accumulate it. And you know what? It's my stuff. It's mine. Don't take it away from me. You know? You don't know the story. You don't know what happened for that to be there. So don't you dare come and try to tell me to do anything differently, or don't you sort of suggest to me that maybe it's affecting my life, because you don't know what happened. You don't know that situation. You don't know the way they treated me when I was younger. You don't know the way he said this. You don't know the way he did this thing. You don't know the way she did this thing. You don't know the way she said this thing. So you've got no right speaking to me because these are mine. This is my stuff. You've got no right telling me. You have no right telling me what to do with it. Okay, these belong to me. And this junk that we accumulate, this excess baggage, this weight that we carry, we make it ours and we own it because you owe me. You know, we hate for people to meddle, don't we? And we've all been hurt by somebody. Okay, that's a human universal thing. For some reason, humans are the most stupid but beautiful species. I mean, we care for each other with such incredible depths, and we hurt each other with such incredible depths. I don't know why. You know, isn't that the dumbest thing? It's just dumb. But we do, don't we? Somebody does something to us, and we got to do it back. How dare they? Or we have these expectations on people that don't fulfill what they want them to do, or we have these expectations on God, and he doesn't do what we wanted him to do, and we just build these things up. You know, maybe in your life you had to sacrifice for others or care for others. Maybe it wasn't even a trauma situation or abusive situation. Maybe it's just you had to put your dreams and your hopes to the side because of somebody else. You know, we all have different reasons, different scenarios, how this stuff sort of comes into our baggage of life. You know, all different types of situations, all different types of scenarios. And maybe some of the stuff wasn't even your fault. Some of the stuff might have happened to you, you didn't even ask for it. The unexpected illness, the job loss, the way they treated you. You know, not even things that we asked for, but things that just happened. You know, not even saying it's our fault. But we all have been hurt. We all can take offense. And this is a helpful thing. I heard this when I was younger, and it really helped me in life. Offense is never given, it's only ever taken. Offense isn't given, it's only ever taken. If someone does something intentionally to hurt me, I don't have to take it. I don't have to take the offense. Okay? Well, that was a freebie. We should move on now because it seems like it's getting a bit heavy. But I know that all of us want to learn how to get rid of stuff, don't we? We don't want to carry these things. Because whether we're consciously aware of it or not, this stuff affects us. It could affect us in our friendships. It affects us in our relationships. It affects you when you serve on different teams and you work with other people. Because as soon as we start doing stuff with other people, do you know what happens? Our luggage gets in the way. It's fine when we can keep everything in our self-contained, isolated studios. But when we have to interact with other people, that is the most annoying thing in the world, because that is when the stuff comes out, right? And we all have it, and it comes out in our relationships, whether we're friendships or parental or marital or whatever level of relationships they are. This stuff comes out in relationships. And it's hard to get rid of this stuff sometimes because it's so much part of our experience, our story, our journey. It's so much part of who we are. but we want to give each other good advice. And my heart for you is that you are free. Free. Because I am learning to be more like Jesus. And Jesus said, everyone who's heavy and weary laden, come to me so I can give you rest. And I want to be more like the kind of person that helps people offload baggage and feel refreshed and feel like their load has been lightened, rather than an environment where it gets heavier. Now, maybe you've been in church for a long time. Maybe you've had lots of church experiences, and maybe your church experience has felt a little bit more like somebody putting more and more stuff on you. I'd rather we be a local church. Can we do this, family? Can we be a place where people are lightened, not made heavier? That the burdens don't become burdensome and breaking, but they become life-giving and lightening. Because that's the kind of Savior that I follow, the one who said, I want to bind up the brokenhearted. I want to help those who are carrying something that they shouldn't be carrying. And that's what we want to do. This is what we're going to do this morning. Today is an opportunity to look at what's in our bags, and it's an opportunity to actually do something about it. It's time to get rid of the excess baggage, the stuff that holds us back and holds us down. It holds us back and it holds us down. And what happens is when we let jealousy and bitterness and offenses and anger get into our lives, it's like a little seed. And if you planted a seed in your garden, the seed is amazing. The seed changes. The seed starts to put down roots, and it starts to stretch up, and it starts to stretch out, and it goes deeper, and it goes taller, and it goes bigger, and it goes wider, and it goes stronger. But it started out as something so incredibly small. The same thing happens for bitterness and jealousy and anger and all these types of things. They're like little seeds that get in your heart. And what happens is it can dig in, and if you let it stay there in the garden of your heart, it puts down roots. And the root starts to grow, and it goes a bit deeper, and it starts to affect you, and it starts to get a bit stronger, and the branches bud, and it starts to produce fruit in your life, because that's what a seed does. A seed is designed to grow, and it starts to produce things that come out of your life that are really not very nice things, and all of a sudden you're not that nice to be around. You're not that nice to be on a team with. You're not that nice to do stuff with, because this fruit that seems to be coming out of your life has come from this tree called anger or bitterness or cynicism or jealousy or rage. And we've probably all worked with somebody like that. We've probably all had somebody in our own families like that sometimes. Don't you know? And maybe you were in a relationship with somebody like that. You didn't realize it first, but after a while it was like, hang on a minute, this is kind of like toxic fruit here. People do that, and this is why it's so incredibly important to deal with the junk in our lives, to deal with the excess baggage, because he who the Son sets free, this is what Jesus said about himself, is free indeed. He who I set free is free indeed. Jesus came to set us free, not to tangle us up and tie us down and make us heavy. And whether or not you can recognize the baggage in your life, I can guarantee you've got people that you can think of. If you take a moment, you could think of people that you know in your life who've got some baggage you would love to see them deal with. See, our hearts are for one another. We want to see one another become free. And this isn't a new thing. This actually has been going on for a long time, because there's this guy, Paul. And Paul was he was an early church leader, and he had this amazing encounter with God. He was anti-God, and he had this encounter with Jesus, and it totally changed his life. It transformed everything about the way he was doing things. And he became a church planter and a pioneer and a church leader, and he went from being a Jesus hater and a Christian killer to being a Jesus follower and spreading the good news of Jesus. So this guy Paul is writing to these local churches, and he writes to Christian communities, those who are also following Jesus. And a couple thousand years ago, to this church in Ephesus, which is modern day Turkey, you can go visit Ephesus. I know some of you have been. You can go to Ephesus, and you can walk the same streets, the same city, the same place. So Paul's writing to this group of followers, this group of Jesus followers in Ephesus, and he writes this to them. He says, get rid of all, you get the picture, all. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, along with every form of malice. And you're kind of like, yeah, sure, that sounds easy. What is that like? Like getting the remote control and being like, changing the channel. You know, I mean, that's pretty easy, isn't it? You don't have to like put much effort or exertion. I don't know how many muscles you have to use to like, oh, this is boring, I'm going to flick the channel. And like, oops, I fall over. I mean, it was like, what? Just get rid of all. Just get rid of it all, yeah? Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, along with every form of malice. Well, the good news is Paul didn't just leave us hanging there with some like unrealistic expectation, you know? How do we do it? And so Paul says how we do it. He says, forgiving each other. Don't you wish you would have said something else? Don't you wish you would have just said, hey, I know what, there's all this stuff in your life. I think the best way to deal with it, how about you just read Psalms chapter 1 twice a day? Thank you. Yes. How about you just go on a little quiet walk in the woods? Yes. How about you go fishing? How about you just make a meal? How about you go out for a meal? How about you go out for a meal and then to the cinema? Oh, no. How about you go to the cinema and then go out for a meal afterwards? You know, I mean, why didn't Paul give us something that was a much funner way to resolve the issue, right? I mean, he tells us, get rid of everything, get rid of all this junk. And then he says, forgive one another. Which gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? And you know, the heart of the matter is always the matter of the heart. Because this is where the seed has been planted and it's taken root, and this is where this weight is carried in our lives. Forgive one another. We're like, come on, man. You don't even know what they did to me. You don't even know what she said. You don't even know what my parents were like. You don't know what that teacher was like. You don't know what they used to call me. You don't know what they said about me. You don't know how they treated me. You don't know how I was betrayed. You don't know how you don't know how they did this. And you're just saying, forgive each other, forgive them. I mean, you have no clue what's going on. How am I supposed to forgive somebody? They don't deserve it. Maybe if I felt like they deserved it, then maybe I would do something about it. But they don't deserve it. They don't deserve to be treated. You should see the way they treated me, so why should I treat them differently? What are you saying? Forgive one another. And Paul carries on just pushing that little bit deeper. Because he just says, forgive like Jesus forgave you. See, we tend to like it happen like this. We sit down with our friends. I hope this table will take my weight. I've been working out, so we sit down with our friends and we tell them about a situation that's gone on in our lives. And our friend nods their head. I take another sip of that coffee. They say, I know exactly how you feel. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That's so terrible. He's such a turd. I don't know. Yeah. She's just such a selfish cow or whatever. I mean? We sit there and our friends help us. Our friends help us know how important these are to keep in our lives. Our friends help us know that this stuff is valid and real and intentional and needs to be there. Our friends are good like that, aren't they? Our friends are just really encouraging. But Paul's not that kind of friend. Paul's a true friend. The real friend that says, you know what? I'm sorry that stuff happened in your life. But you're made for something more. You're made to be free. I just see you and I don't think you're made to carry this stuff anymore. I see something better for you. You see, a true friend tells us the truth even when it's hard to hear. A true friend says, you know what? I know they were absolute jerks. But if you learn to forgive them, they'll stop having so much power over your heart. And that's a hard thing to hear, especially when they have done some stupid stuff in your life. It's especially hard to hear. And if we look at that verse where Paul says it, Paul doesn't make it simple. Paul doesn't make it easy. Because he says, forgive the way Jesus forgave you. And how did Jesus forgive us? Was it easy? Was it simple? It was costly. It cost him everything. Okay, this is not flicking a remote and changing the channel because you don't like what's on the TV right now. Let's not for a moment think that Paul for a second is telling you that this is an easy thing to do. We forgive the same way Jesus forgave us, and it cost Jesus every absolute thing. It cost him his life, his energy, his dreams. It cost him everything. That's how we forgive. And Jesus forgave those who didn't deserve it. He forgave us when we didn't deserve it. We were owed, and the debt was canceled. You know, it's like Jesus forgave us in a totally different way. And I want to, I know we've had our teenagers in here for the last 3 weeks, which has been totally awesome. And I want to encourage you guys, if you're younger, don't let this stuff grow in your life. Learn at a young age to not take it on. Because the older we get, the more jaded we can get sometimes in life, and we can take stuff on. You know, when that person says something about you, or when that person writes something about you on social media, or when that person makes you feel like this, or doesn't do that, or doesn't do these certain things, just try. And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy for a moment, but I'm just saying it's better in the long run to not carry it. I'm not saying it's not hurtful, because it is hurtful. All of this stuff is hurtful. And forgiving someone doesn't mean they never did what they did. What it means is you are just letting them go because it's not yours to deal with anymore. It doesn't mean that they didn't do what was wrong. It doesn't mean they didn't do something which was unkind or abusive or terrible. It doesn't mean that somebody was hurtful in the office and did something offensive. It doesn't justify for a moment their behavior. What you are doing is protecting what you take around with you in life, because you're on a journey and you got to go somewhere. And I want to see you reach it. I want to see you go further, and I want to see you go farther, and I want to see you go freer. That's the issue. It's not to say that that stuff never happened, and it's not to say that stuff was appropriate. It's to say that you don't need to carry it anymore. And today is an opportunity for all of us to look at what we've got and deal with it, to do something with it. So what we're going to do, we're going to wrap up. We're going to go into a song. We've got a worship song that's going to play in a few minutes, and we're going to take communion. We're going to celebrate this bread and wine, remember the bread and juice, remember what Jesus has done for us. And this is how it worked. You know, Jesus was trying to explain to his followers, he was trying to explain to them what it was like and how he was trying to help them understand. And he took this thing that they had done for thousands of years called the Passover, and it was just for Jewish people, for Jewish things, for a Jewish celebration. And Jesus is sitting with his friends, they're celebrating this really traditional thing, and he flips it on his head, he changes it, and he's like, I want you to think about it like this, you know, when you take the bread, if the only way I can show you about it, like if I give think about this bread like me, okay? This is my body, and the only way I can give you some of me is like if the bread tears. The only way you can have some is if I share it with you. And so he takes the bread and he breaks it and he says, think about it and like it's me, okay? I want to help you understand what it is I'm about to do for you. This isn't ritual. This isn't some traditional thing that you've done for thousands of years. This is actually something new and something different, and I want you to understand. And so think about this bread like me being broken. And he does the same thing. He says, I want you to imagine like when we take a drink, the only way I can share this drink with you is if it's poured out. It's the only way. Think about it like my blood. It's like my blood. It's like my very life just being poured out for you. And that's how he communicated it to his followers. He gave us this super simple way to remember the work of what Jesus has done. The bread reminds us that it's like his body just given for us. This juice reminds us that it's like his blood, like his life just poured out for us. Really simple things to help us understand an incredible, incredible love who forgave us when we didn't deserve it. So on the end of your aisles and the end of the row, you've got a bucket of 10s. You've got a 10 there. So I want you to take one if you could. Take one. Take one of these 10s. This will be a various variety of cans for the Americans in the room. Take one of these cans. Pass them around. Maybe Maybe it's easy for you to think about what label is on yours. Ignore the kidney beans and baked beans and whatever else labels. But see, I don't know what label you would put on yours. Maybe it's easy for you to think about the label. Or maybe it's easy for you to imagine that person's face. Maybe there's a particular individual and he or she did something in your life and you can visualize it quite easily. I want you to just take a moment and and think about it. You feel the weight of it. And then here's the incredible opportunity that Jesus offers, forgiveness for all. Paul tells us, hey, we can get rid of all this excess baggage. We can get rid of all this excess weight because we can exchange it for something else. So in a moment, we're going to play a song. And as that song's playing, you can just come forward. And if you've got something in your life that you need to deal with, here's what I'd like to encourage you to do. You walk over to that table and just say, I'm putting this one down. And then celebrate with the bread and the wine. See, Jesus didn't say, you get rid of the one thing and I just leave you empty. No, it's a replacement. It's a swap. We're trading out. You're trading out all of this junk and all of these stupid things that we carry, this excess baggage. You're trading it out. You're getting rid of it. And it's being replaced by something else. The forgiveness that Jesus has offered. That's the only way we can forgive others, because we forgive others the way he forgave us. And so he refills me with his grace, his love, his mercy, his forgiveness. And that's the only way I can do what I need to do to be free in life. Today is the opportunity for you to look at your baggage and find out what you've been carrying. And today is the day to leave it once and for all. Get rid. I'm going to pray, and then we can, maybe you could just start that video just slowly in the background or something, fade it up, please. I'll just pray for us as we get ready to close. Jesus, we thank you so much for just who you are. God, in your goodness and your kindness, you came to us and you invited us to come to you. Thank you that you forgave us first. Thank you that you teach us to live and love in a way that we just can only imagine. Thank you so much. We thank you for what you've done for all of our lives. God, we thank you for the work on the cross and the life you gave. In your name we pray. Amen. So yeah, in your own time, I'd encourage you to come forward. Let's share the communion. And if you've got something to deal with, leave it on that table and get rid of it.
And I surrender all to you, all to you. I'm singing you this song, waiting at the cross, and all the world holds dear. Count it all as love. surrender all to you, all to you.
So let's not pick any of that stuff back up in life as other things happen. Don't pick any of it back up. And when you recognize it again, I pray that you remember. And I pray that every time you cook a meal or go to the supermarket or see a wall full of tins, you will be reminded that there is a lighter way to live life. So be free and pack light. It's been an amazing time. If you've missed any of these sessions, we can catch them online. But next week is our back to school bash. So we're going to have everybody staying in here, our children, young people. We're going to pray for all of our youngsters heading off to school. Anyone involved in education, we're going to be praying for them. Any of our youth heading off to uni, et cetera, we're going to be praying for everybody. Big back to school bash next Sunday. And before you go away, you'll be happy to know that we are also serving ice creams today. So we have a whole variety of ice cream. We're going to be brought out in just a moment on that table. Please stick around, hang out, and have fun. We've got the children have been brought back as well, and they'll be found in that room just at the back. So cool. Have an awesome rest of the day.